Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I do Kintsugi shells. So, well, here's the start. I find a stone and take it home and polish it and hope it shines, and also there's a chicken. Hey everyone, this is Clayton, and like I said, today I'm going to show you how I do Kintsugi shells. So if you haven't seen this video on the Kintsugi shells, I'm going to try to put the link somewhere on here. I'm not sure how to do it, but I'm going to try. So, if you want to see what they look like beforehand, go check it out. And if you want to just be surprised, then just watch the video. But watch them both anyway, because they're videos and they're fun. And the chicken says so. And speaking of the chicken, he has something to say. Now that that's out of the road, back to the Kintsugi shells. Okay, the Kintsugi shells are, let's take a look at this. You see, these are just regular old seashells that have been eaten up by critters that do all the eating up and beat up by the waves and all that natural stuff that decomposes shells in the ocean. Okay, and let me get the dental pick of destiny out here. And it's pretty straightforward. Oh, I thought there was some stuff in there I was going to pick out. Huh, maybe there's not. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Anyway, all these little voids and holes and whatnot in here, I take and I fill them up with high strength epoxy that's pigmented. Let me adjust this. Maybe I need to darken this up a little bit. That's a little bit better. Let me try that for a while. May have to keep adjusting the brightness, because as you can see, the critters have eaten through that. And what I do is I fill that in with really high strength epoxy. See, it's on the back too. High strength epoxy that's tinted with gold. Now, I said before I would actually use real gold to do that, which would be really, really cool, but it'd also be really, 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 really expensive. Because gold is, what is the price of gold today? Oh, okay, I just checked. The price of gold today is $1,857.38 per ounce. So the amount of gold I'd have to put on inside of this thing to make it, fill up this space that would be one expensive pendant. Oi! Okay, so back to what we're going to do here. Okay, are we still too dark, or are we bright enough that I can see what's going on? Let me brighten her up just a hair. Okay. Like I said, I take and fill this up with pigments. Here's one that I have started. And this is what it looks like after it's been, all the voids have been filled with the epoxy and gold pigment. And I wrap it in aluminum foil. Oh, let me show you what let me do the process. Okay, so what's the first thing we gotta do? Ta-da! Okay, first thing I gotta do is I have to get some of this stuff mixed up, but I've got to do it in even amounts. So, and I can't find a pen. And I still can't find a pen. I found a pen! The pen of destiny was hiding. So usually, oh boy, that's going to be way too much. Maybe not. You know what, I'm going to have to do that much. And if there's extra, maybe I'll just put it on something else. But I need to make equal amounts of each. I need to get smaller cups is what I need to get. But hey, you never know. That's a lot of void right in there. So I've got these two cups. So next thing to do is to get my epoxy. And that's why I have marks on there. So I mix part A and part B of the epoxy. Okay, this is actually kind of boring. So I'm going to skip ahead until I get these two mixed. Okay, I've got part A and part B here. But I am also getting way ahead of myself. So let me get these here. I gotta get this baby wrapped up in something. Well, not something, but I have to get it wrapped up in da-da-da-da! Super flashy aluminum foil. Okay, now what this does is allows me to create a barrier so I don't use up a truckload of this epoxy, because this stuff is expensive. It's expensive, and if I only need to use up a little bit, then why, I don't need to use more than I need to. And I found that this is the best way to make a form-fitting dam around these shells. And I can somewhat, adjust the shape, because it's it's malleable. So I'm going to make this here, with hopefully we're not poking through the darn thing. I'm going to make myself a nice little dam around this shell. And basically that's what I need right there. And I'm going to trim this off. Okay, got that. Ooh, icky gunk. Now, as you see, I've got a nice little, this side, pretty much form fitted, so I'm not going to waste a whole lot of this resin. And I can fill this up as far as I need to. I can adjust how it sets, especially since it rocks. And might have to open up one little end so I can pour this down, because what's going to happen is going to be sucking up from the bottom, and I don't want any air spaces. Okay, so I'm going to leave it just like that. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to put this down, because I don't want that stuff all over my workspace. And then we get the blue paintbrush of destiny. I'm wanted. Okay, and here's my pigment. Pearl X powder, Aztec gold. Some of the best stuff out there. Ready? So I'm going to, okay, I'm mixing. Got to put part A into part B, or part B into part A, whichever part this may be. Maybe, 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 baby. Okay, we've got part A and part B, and this goes in the bin. Dum, dum, dum. Now, when you mix this stuff in, and I mix it in now because I don't want to have to mix it in later. Very technical amount of mixing you do here, So for that, that's about how much. That's my fabulous formula for mixing up here. And then you have to seriously mix this stuff up good, because you do not want like partially mixed, because you're not going to get a good hard, it's just not going to get good and hard. I mean, if you ever mixed up glue that is 2-part and you don't get it mixed properly, you know what I'm talking about. It just don't work. So I've got to mix this quickly, well, you know, quickly, thoroughly, and without filling it full of air bubbles. You get air bubbles in there, well, we're going to take care of the air bubbles. So now what we got here, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now, what we are going to do here is pull out this monstrosity. This is called a vacuum chamber. It is a hand crank vacuum chamber. So watch what happens when I start. Getting a good vacuum. Oh yeah, we are getting a good vacuum. Okay, it should start pulling out the air bubbles. As you can see, sorry for the shaking. It's pulling the air bubbles out. Just what we want to have happen. Okay, so we got most of the air bubbles out of there, but we got to work fast. Watch this. Whee! You see that? Hopping up and down. Okay, so we've got to get this into... Bah! Okay, I got to put that in my teeth. And I got to pour some of this in there. In there, you know what I mean, there? Okay, there we go. And this is why I want... There we go. Now, look, see? That's starting to come up through. That's what we want to have happen. Basically, I am stabilizing this unstable shell. I think I'm glad I mixed up as much as I did. Yeah, we are stabilizing. Good grief. Okay, this stuff's starting to get a little bit thick already, so I've got to work fast. Work fast. Work fast! Okay, this thing's got to go. Got to get into there. Now you see why I had to make that into a nice... Oh, looker. Okay, now I have to make that into a nice... how would you call it? Make that just a tad bit wet. And everything is working out really good here so far. So now what I'm going to do, and I hope you can see this well, I'm going to start pumping the air out, and you can hopefully see, yes, you can start seeing the bubbles coming up through. That's sucking the air out of the shell so that the epoxy stuff can go filling up all the cracks. One of these days I may have a real vacuum chamber that's not made from $10 parts from Harbor Freight. Okay, so there you can see that there's a lot of air bubbles coming up through. Now I'm going to release this pressure again. Slower this time because I don't want it to fly up in the air. Now, do you see what happened? Look at that. Look how much of that filled up. So this, you know, this is what makes them nice and hard and fills up every crack and all the spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the vacuum on here again, and then I'm going to let that vacuum set overnight. So I'm going to get as much of this out as possible without spilling all over the place. So I'm going to continue doing this for a few minutes until it sets up, and then I'll be back after this sets up for about a day and a half, 2 days, something like that. So don't go away. Hey everyone, it's tomorrow. Yeah, or 24 or 48 hours later, something like that. And we're going to take this out of the vacuum chamber, and of course it didn't hold a vacuum that long anyway. So let's set this out of the way. Bye, vacuum chamber. And so this is what I have after that. And pointy stick of destiny. As you can see, that's pretty hard. Let me get the... I mean, see that? This stuff's hard. This is some really good stuff. And so, basically all the holes in this have been filled in. And it's hard to get the... sometimes the foil will come off, and it's doing it real nice this time. Kind of tickled. Whew. I can scrape it off with this. What part doesn't want to come off, so you can see what's happening. I mean, I can just take this right over onto the grinding wheel, and you know, the wheel will take it right off. But I thought you'd like to see how this fills this up. So yeah, I think you can get a pretty good idea of what we got going here. Let me get rid of some of this. You can see I'm not even really scratching that up. It is a little bit, but like I said, that's some really good epoxy smoochy smuts there. So yeah, we got this pretty much. Okay, so you can see this is what we got now. We've got the gold pigment completely through every part of that shell. So now what I would do is take it over onto the wheel and start grinding down the most minimal amount I can to show the shell. To show the shell and highlight all the spaces with the gold. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm gonna bring this. It looks like I was eating chocolate kisses. Okay, so yeah, let's just take it over onto the wheel right now. Okay. Alrighty, so I will start. Where are you at? Okay, there you are. Okay, I'll start taking this. See if I can get some of this off. As you can see, I'm starting to get down. I'm just going to take off enough to show the shell and the pigment underneath or inside. Okay, as you can see, I'm getting down more to the shell. And this is by no means a speedy process. Now I'm to the point where I have to decide how much I'm going to take off the back and how much I'm going to straighten up the sides here. Because you can see we go lots of dips and lots of doodahs and whatnot. And even though that might not be too bad as a pendant hanging like that, you still have to get some type of shape that's pleasing. I may have to take this and do it by hand. Okay, I'd say I'm pretty much done for now on the wheel. So let's take this back over here so we can get a better look at it. Okay, I'm back. Let's, oh yeah, this is a mess. Let me get this cleaned up here. Okay. Wow. Well, there goes the special Vex budget for the whole month. Okay, anyway. So we got this year. What is it with this year? Okay. This is what I got so far. If I get into the middle of the camera. As you can see, I've got basically all those holes that you saw before are filled in. And now I have to decide how much shaping I want to do, if any, to this shell. Now, here I have some other Kintsugi shells, and as you can see, these I did do a shaping to the edges. Not so much here. As you can see, there's still holes and divots. But this shell here was not as crazy wild as this one is. And same way with this. Oh, this is one of my favoriteest shells ever. Seriously, I didn't even know if I want to part with this one. Anyway, you can see the edge on this one was pretty much natural. All I did was take it right down to there. And this edge, I left it as it was. And this one I did before I had the vacuum chamber. So this would have been a lot, this is still pretty much stabilized, but it would have been a lot more stabilized than it is. So I have to decide what I want to do with this one now. And like I was saying, these aren't just like, okay, you got a shiny stone, you cut it into an oval, put a dome on it, and there you go. That's not how these work. Each one is absolutely, completely, and did I happen to say absolutely? They're unique, even more unique than this, because I mean, here you've got two pieces of indigo gabbro. Each one, they're both different, but they're both indigo gabbro. It has the same pattern, has the same colors to a point. I mean, if you get down to it, the pattern is unique in each one, but it's still the same pattern. These guys, depending on how much I cut away, every one is different. I mean, look here. Right here we've got this where it looks like a giraffe head. Okay, see, we got a giraffe head here. Giraffe head and neck coming down, and it's got a snake body. Woo! And then here's a dragonfly. There's the two wings in the body. And here's some cave paintings in the making down here. So as I cut these down, you know, I start seeing all this. And these abstract ideas come up to my head. Now I'm going to end up taking most of this off the back here to lighten this up. So I'm going to go cut some of this off, and I shall be right back. Yeah, I would show you that machine, but it is absolutely super duper horribly noisy and dusty as all get out, and I have to do it outside, and it's snowing and it's nighttime, so it's going to be interesting. All right, I shall be right back. Okay, oh man, that was horrible. I'm back. Oh, and I did, excuse me while I get the dust off of me here. Tell you, if there's anybody from a company that sells cabbing machines, and they're watching this and they happen to feel generous, I would really like to have a cabbing machine to do this, so I am not sucking in dust during the middle of a snowstorm with a homemade machine made out of a drill from Harbor Freight. So, you know, I'll definitely promote your product if you happen to send something my way. My lungs would appreciate it. But anyway, okay, I took some of that back off. I'll probably take more off here when there's enough light that I can actually see by. Like I said, it's dark outside, but I got the shape down just a little bit more. going to be woohooly shaped. But I can work this more on the grinder over there. But first thing I got to do is I'm going to have to put this on a dop stick. And the wax will not work on these. I've tried it. I tried it and tried it and tried it. Wax doesn't work. I don't know why. I think it's just the mass of this is way too big for the amount of wax I'd have to put on there. So I'm going to have to use the good old 2-part epoxy. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dop this up on a stick. And I have to let that set for a while. And then I will be back. Actually, I'll dop this up. And I'll work the face on this, on the wheel over there. And come back and start filming again when that is done. So don't go away, because you'll be waiting 2 seconds while I take a day and a half to do this. Okay, I'm back, and yes, I do have 2 here. This is the one that we were working on, and this one I had setting right over here on the desk, and I planned on doing a video on the Kintsugi shells using it, but I had already got it in, you know, put it in the stuff and done all the thing and all that to it, and well, it wouldn't have been a very good video because it didn't show you what I was doing. But I decided to go ahead and start cutting it while I was at it. So now we have 2 that we can work on. So here's what this one looks like. I finished basically taking it on the wheel, and this is what I basically come out with. And it's still a little wet, so that's good. And then this looked like a kitty cat. Little ears there in a shadow looking down, and its little tail coming around. So this probably will be called something to do with cats. I don't know. Cat scratch. It'll take me a while to figure out an actual name to call it. And of course, it's very thick. Somebody wants me. It's thick, so it'll probably get thinned out a good bit from the back, so it's not like breaking your neck when it's hanging on you. And this one, I really don't know what I'm going to call this one. This one's a completely different type of shell and a completely different color, and it's much bigger. There's a lot bigger lines through there. And it's going to be completely different. But that's what's great about these. They're all different. So the next thing we're going to do is 500 grit. Okay, and I need paper. And we've got paper. So got a brand new sheet of 500 grit. The schmutzy sprayer of destiny. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start polishing. And this is pretty much the same as you see all the time. It's just going over the entire surface of the thing. So you know the drill. You know what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut away and come back when I have more of this polished up. I think, wow, that's really soaking wet. I think we have this pretty much ready to go onto the 1000 grit. And you can see it's quite a nice, it's quite nice with all those gold, oh, yeah, all those spaces filled in with the gold pigment and whatnot. And I can pretty much sure it's going to be hanging from here, and that's going to be a cat. That's definitely a cat. Okay, so next thing is onto this baby. Need a little bit more schmutzy schmutz on there. And there we got an idea of what this looks like. And it's the same old thing. We just take all the facets out. We'll be right back. Okay, let's take a look at this here. Oh, this one's coming along nice. There's some really nice contrast in the colors there. Got some nice earthy tones in mixed in with that gold pigment. Unfortunately, as you can see, this one has some voids in there. I really dislike those. Actually, I can fill those in later on. After it's all done and polished up, I can come back with a little bit of pigment and fill those spots in. individually and then polish them down. Which, of course, I will have to do because I take pride in my work. And I make each one of these into a piece of art. Because they are art. Not art as in Arthur, but art as in... You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, I'm a little sloppy on this. Okay, here's what we got. And that's looking pretty darn nice. Exceptionally nice, I would say. Okay, so next thing is take these two babies and go to the 1000 grit. So I'm going to get these cleaned up, and myself cleaned up, and zip on over to 1000 grit. Woo! So here's what we got. Thing 2 and thing 1. So the next step is cerium oxide and a polish. So let's head over to the cerium oxide wheel after I clean these up. These are cruddy. All right, be right back. Okay, I'm back from the cerium oxide wheel. And let me get these two somewhat cleaned off enough to get a good look at. Now, here's the one that we started from scratch. And you can see, yeah, that turned out really, really nice. And the kitty is still there, and I think the kitty's even shinier now. There is some gnarliness going on the edges here. I have to get a smaller buffing wheel with cerium oxide and get around the edges. Actually, I had one like that, and I hadn't been using it because I went over this big wheel, but I had used it before. It's been a while since I made any Kintsugi shells, and I am just rambling on fast. But anyway, you can see around the edges, I got to buff that up a little bit, but I can't get that with the big wheel. This back, I will cut this out thinner because this is a pretty hefty shell. So I'm going to trim this back down. Probably not as thin as this one, but probably close. And speaking of this one, here's what this one turned out to be. And that is some serious super shiny. The light reflecting off of here is going up into my eyes that it actually hurts. And I can see the ceiling tile in the reflection there. This is a fabulous shiny one. And the edges aren't too bad. It was smaller edge, so I was able to get on it better. But like I said, I'm going to have to get the other polishing wheel ready. You know, then I can get these things polished up nicely. But essentially, I call these two shells, these are definitely a win. And, well, this is how Kintsugi shells are made. And it takes a little bit longer than what you're seeing here because it's been edited out pretty heavily. This one, like I said, is probably going to have something to do with kitty cats. It'll probably be drilled up here and hang like this, you know, with the... So you're looking at it, you'll be looking at it just like you are there with the bayo and whatnot up here holding it. And this one, I'm thinking it might be the same. It might be up here, but you never know, depending on what I decide for it to be. Oh, doesn't that sort of look like a tulip? Or a fork. I don't know. But I don't name them right off the bat unless it really jumps out at you. So one way or the other, this will be either like this way or this way. Or maybe this way. I don't know. It could be like that. But most likely it'll either be this way or this way. And these two stones essentially these are shells, not stones. These two shells are essentially finished. Except for the, you know, like I said, cutting the bayo in. And I'm not going to do that right now because I want to get this out to you so you can see what it's like. Because it could be a couple of more days until I get this edge polished up. And how I have to build the machine to do that. As the machine I had for it is not going to it's pretty well fell apart and it's nasty. So I'm going to have to build another machine with a edge polishing wheel on it. So thanks for spending some time with me, and have a good evening.